good day, everybody, wherever you are. We're so fortunate to be together. Bindaji, thank you so much for taking the time and making this part of your life to do these classes with us. I'm really happy you're here. Also, Prasad, it's very good to have your presence, and everybody who is here. As Bindaji sometimes says, we wouldn't be having the classes if we weren't all here to attend. And this is just such a complete part of this Upanishad. I feel like it just gets right to the core of this, the living truth of all of this, and in my view, in my humble opinion. So I'm very excited for today's class. Very, very happy to be here. Just to remind anyone who's listening for the first time on the replay or who's present here, you can join this house and know that there are rooms here Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 p.m. IST for Upanishad classes, and we're well into the Taittareeya, so listen to as much as you can, but perhaps beginning with the more recent rooms, if this is new to you, listening on replay. And then on Sunday, we have an open discussion at the same time, and that everything's also available on YouTube at the channel called Advaita Retold, and so you have many ways that you can listen to this, but without further ado, Bindaji, we're looking forward to the class today. I'll turn hand raising and chat off during the class itself so we can focus, but then we'll turn it back on and have a Q&A afterwards as usual. Thank you, everybody. Over to you, Bindaji.
Namaste, Atmisha. Namaste, Prasad. And welcome all. Without wasting time, let me get into today's session. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamshirishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhya Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashi Pradau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Veda Vipakine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Smatgurubhyo Namaha. The Shanti Mantram for this section of the Upanishad is Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in the second part, second chapter, or whichever way you want to call it, in the 8th subsection, we are in the final aspect of it. Sa yaschayam purushe yaschasavaditye sa ekaha sa ya evam vid asman lokan pretya edamannamaya atmanam upasankramati edam pranamayam atmanam upasankramati edam manomayam atmanam upasankramati edam vijnanamayam atmanam upasankramati edam anandamayam atmanam upasankramati tadapyesha sloko bhavati. This is how the 8th subsection is ending. So in the last class, what we have done is, we will just a bird's eye view, will recap it. Yeah, sa yas chayam purushe yaschasa vaditye sa ekaha iti. That is what the Upanishads want us to understand, is the Advaitin, or the non-duality of existence. That what is the essence of the Purusha, or the individual, or the Jiva here in this experience. Not the substratum, as it can be misunderstood, as the essence of the Purusha here, or the Jiva here, or the individuality here, not the individuality per experience, but the essence of the individuality. Sa is the same if you take it as the sun, essence of the sun also. That means, in essence, entire creation is made of one substance, or one and only one. That is why Sa Ekaha is the way in which they are concluding it. What does it mean? We have gone through this earlier, like the gold and the ornaments. The ornaments may be appearing to be number, multitude, and different in nature by names and forms, but they are not different when they consider their essence, the gold itself. So too the mud and the pots and etc., or the water and the forms of water like the froth, the waves, the the whirlpool, the clouds, the river, the rain, etc. So same way, from that which is one and which can encompass everything. That is why the word name Brahma is used, Brahman is used, Brahatvad Brahman. That is the essence in which everything is appearing. To show this, in an earlier part, we discussed about how the space and the objects in the space, even though appearing to be occupying the space and multitude in the names and forms, none of them will be ever existing had the space not been there. Their existence is dependent upon the space in which they are allowed to exist. Now, there is something in which the space is allowed to exist. And that is what is called the existence consciousness or existence awareness and infinite in nature. Satya Jnanam Anandam Brahma. That Satya Jnanam Anandam Brahma is the nature in which everything, including the space onward, Atmana Akasha Sambhudaha Akashat Vayu, that we studied in the beginning of this Upanishad. That from that the space appeared in itself, and from the space the rest of the creation. So when we look at the names and forms of the objects which is appearing in the space, we do not acknowledge or we do not have the idea that the essence of space is ingrained in every molecule or every atom. And therefore, when we say that the man, the animal, the bird, and the rock, the mountain, the river, the water, the sky, the cosmos, everything, we are assuming that everybody is having the knowledge and awareness that it is in space what we are experiencing all those things. And for transaction purpose, between man to man or man to animal or man to plants, etc., we do not have to acknowledge the presence of space without also that we can transact, because the transaction doesn't necessarily can be imagined without space. Therefore, since one is assumed to be the basis on which everything is, in which everything is taking place, here the substratum, then the knowledge of the substrate or which is there, that thought of having two is not there. Even though we say space is separate and the object in the space is separate, but we do not accept the fact that the separatedness is because we know the space as something independently measurable by volume. But that space is not measurable, is something which we do not consider. What we measure is due to the conditioning which we bring in within the space, which also needs space for their own existence. whether it is a scale or a tape or anything like that. They also need space. So we really have not gone deeper into our own essence or the essence of everything in the world. Only when the Upanishad is asking us to think in that direction, we get into the finer aspects of thinking. And this is required because we do not know who we are until this aspect is known to us. Because what we assume who we are is based on what we have assumed we are, not what we really is. That knowledge, what we really are, cannot be known because there the knower and the known are not separate. Yet the Upanishad is talking about Vijnana or knowledge. So what is that knowledge which the Upanishad is talking about? It is that knowledge with which we have all these wrong notions built in our understanding. That I am a man, I am an old man or a young man, or I am a female, old or young, yellow, white, blue, green, whatever may be the colors and specifications we put it in our dressing and other things which we are, specifying. This is all called Visheshana, means adjectives. So when we remove these adjectives, including the physicality of the male, female, or the mind, intellect and everything, what are we? Because how are we able to remove it? That is when the subject-object, that is Vishaya-Vishayis, nature of things. That when we negate that there is subject-object, or even when we are taking ourselves as a subject, everything which is objectifiable can be negated as we are not that, which includes our mind, which is made up of thoughts, the logic of the intellect, mind, intellect, everything, including the physicality of male, female, age, etc. So who are we? We are never able to come to a conclusion because we cannot know ourselves as an object. That is the reason why we are not able to know. At the same time, the Upanishad is adamant and is wanting us to know that Brahmavid apnoti param. The one who knows the essence of the individual or the entity, as we call it as the individual, and the nature of the essence of the sun, the moon, the stars, everything what we can perceive from our point of view. If this is understood, he is going to negate all the multiplicity, duality, and he will arrive at the non-dual self. That is why it is said that Saschayam Purushe Yaschasao Vaditye Sayekaha iti. Bhinna Adhikaranastha Vishesha Upamardhanena. Bhinna Adhikaranastha means the substratum. Adhikaranastha means residing in the different substratums. When that Bandha Janita, because of the relationship between the substratum and the nature in which this is being as residing in like the space is residing inside the pot, but is it only residing inside the pot? No. It is there outside, it is there in the body of the pot, it is inside the pot. So when we are saying the Bhinna Adhikarana Upadhi Sambandha Janita Upamardhanena, we are going to remove the space from any adjective which we can call it as like the external space, the internal space, the occupied by the body space, everything we are going to negate as adjectives, and we call it as space in purity. That pure space. Similarly, what is my essence, your essence? Each one of us are considering ourselves as adjectives. When these adjectives are negated, we are existing without adjectives. That essence with which we are existing is not different from one to another, or even from to plant to animal to the globes, the planets, the sun, the moon, the earth, the cosmos, everything. Everything, including the space, the essence is one and the same. Therefore, sa ekaha. Nanu evam api aditya vishesha grahanam anarthakam. If we call it by the individual and the sun, etc., will it not be calamitous for us to do this when essentially we are all the same? In essence, there is no difference between them. Then why are we calling it by the difference, all the names and forms? Na anarthakam. Utkarsha apagarsha apohanartatvad. Utkarsha apagarsha. There is superiority and inferiority way of in which, we use the adjectives. The sun is so big, the moon is small, the earth is bigger than the moon. Like this, and within the animals and the human beings, etc. Also we have this superior, inferior, size-wise, quality-wise, health-wise, strength-wise. Different adjectives we have this superiority and inferiority things. When we are negating this, we are not doing a calamity, or we are not destroying their existence and utility for transaction purpose. They will continue to be there as sun and the moon and the man and the animal, etc. But not knowing the essential nature of it, when we are having the superiority and inferiority, this is becoming the calamitous state where we bring in, I am superior to you, you have to be subordinate to me, or I am subordinate to the king, I am subordinate to the Ishvara, I am subordinate to something else. Like that, we bring in ourselves superior, inferiority, all those things. That can be calamitous. This is why the Advaita is so important for us to understand that while the transaction can be seen from one point of view, that necessarily do not negate the essential nature of everything. So the Upanishad says it, Dvaitasya hi ya murta amurta lakshanasya para utkarsha savitrabhyantargataha sa chet purusha gata vishesha upamardanena paramananda apekshaya samo bhavati. When we negate all these adjectives and the qualifications and the names and forms with which we do the transactional purpose, paramananda apeksha samo bhavati. When we compare with the pure essence, which is ananda in nature, bliss in nature, the satyajnanam anandam or anandam nature, samo bhavati, becomes equated in everything. When we look from the essence of everything, you cannot bring a superiority and inferiority. The essence in the sun and the essence in the atom, there is no difference. They are basically one and the same. So, na kanchit, na kaschit, utkarsha apakarsho va gatam tam gatim gatasyat abhayam pradishtam vindade iti upavannam. This is what we stopped were last class. When we remove all this superiority, inferiority and all those transactional adjectives which we are using on a day-to-day basis, abhayam pradishtam vindade, we are in a state of fearlessness resulting freedom, that I need not be afraid of the sun, I need not be afraid of anything in this world. If I am considering I am as a limited individual due to my adjectives and my identification with the physicality, I may be subjected to superiority and inferiority. But if I am considering the essence, my essence and your essence, each one of your essence is not different. Therefore, how can I be calling myself superior or inferior when our essence is one and the same? This is the ekatvam anupashyata, is what is being told in the Upanishad. The vision of unity, the vision of equation, in way which we cannot make any differentiation between one another. We have to equate with everything in this experiential world. That is what it is called ekatvam anupashyata. So having come to the concluding state where if we look at the nature of our or essence of ours, there is no need to be afraid. Idaram andaram kurade adatasya bhayam bhavati. The Upanishad said earlier, even if we consider even by the iota of difference by the name, form or adjectives, then we will be subjugated to fear due to this superiority and inferiority which is related to the adjectives. One who has known this reality and identifies that my essence, that what I am, is non-different from anybody else. Therefore, he sees himself in everything and everything and as himself. Not by the names and forms and adjectives, but as essence, essential nature of everything. For him, there is no fear. So, abhayam pradishtam vindade. Now, the topic is slightly changing from here, where there is a dialogue between the teacher and the student. And here, the teacher and student, quite interesting dialogue, but in a fashion that this explanation, what has been done till now, has brought in some sort of a realization to the student. Yet, he is not completely free from his impediments, which is due to the Ajnana Samshaya Viparya, the ignorance, the doubts and the misconceptions which he has got. So what the Bhashya says is, the commentary says that Asti Nasti iti Anuprasno Vyakhyada. So you remember this Asti Nasti, Brahma Asti Nasti. There is anything, something called Brahma, is there or not? If it is there, can it be different to Jnani and Ajnani? We discussed this in the earlier thing. So all this Ananda Mimamsa, where this differentiation between the human being to the Hiranyagarbha, the nature of it and Ananda, all those things is to prove that this Asti Nasti Anuprasna, the question which has been, is now answered. How has it been answered? Karya Rasa Labha Pranana Abhaya Pradishta Abhaya Darshanoha Upapattibhyo asti eva. Tada akashadi karanam Brahma ityapakrittaha anuprasnaha ekaha. So, karya means effect. Tasmad atmana akasha sambhutaha. So, akasha is the karya. Rasalabha means ananda labha. How the achievement of the ananda has been mentioned. Pranana abhaya pradishta. Prana, no, the different this, how the prana aspect has been described. Abhaya pradishta, how to be in a state of fearlessness. Abhaya darshana, upapattebhya, how to achieve the state of abhaya pradishta. Abhaya is to establish in that, and how to negate the abhayam, that the fear, state of fear, to reach the abhaya darshanam, to the state of free fearlessness. Akashadi karanam Brahma iti apagrita, starting from the akasha. That is a karya when I started, tasma atmana akasha sambhutaha. So, anuprasna ekaha. So the answer was given for all that there is only from one, that one, in that one, all those things are seemingly appearing as separate, but not really separate from itself. Dwan anuprasnau vidvat avidurshoho brahma prapti vishayau. The second question was whether the Brahma Prapti for a Vidwan, is it different? Is it different for a Avidwan? Means for a Jnani and Ajnani. When you say that in essence there is no difference between the Vijnani and Ajnani, can there be difference in the Brahma Prapti? Which also has been answered saying that Sa Ekaha. So, Sa Ekam Akash Esmin Purushe Estasau Vaditye. Sa Ekaha, when it is said that, it has negated all the, essential nature separation is superimposed, not really existing. Tatra vidwan samasnute na samasnute iti prashno anyaha tad apakarana yoho uchyate. So there that, vidwan samasnute iti, the Upanishad said about it, that the vidwan achieves that state of oneness. Na samasnute iti anuprasnebhya anyaha. The other person is not able to attain to that state of knowledge. This is because he is still harboring the three impediments, which are the Ajnana Samshaya Viparya. So all that, essentially the Jnani and Ajnani, there is no difference between the two. But in the transaction, there is difference because the Jnani, having now known that his essence is the same as the Ajnani and everything in this world, he doesn't differentiate between the one and another. Whereas the Ajnani, still harboring this Ajnana Samshaya Viparya, the three impediments, he considers himself as Ajnani. It is not that he is Ajnani. He considers himself as Ajnani because the doubts he is harboring in his own mind. He is being told by the Upanishad that you are Tato Tvamasi, you are that, Tvam Brahmasi, Sarvatma Bhava, all type of thing that Satya Jnanam Anandam Brahma, how it is to be understood. He has not been able to do the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana to ward off or to remove the ignorance and the doubts and misconceptions which he has harboring as I am a limited individual. How can I be the one and the same as the the one that the whole world is sustained in which. That is that. Tadapakaranam sa uchyate. To remove that is why the Upanishad is repeatedly again and again. Madhyamo anuprashnaha. In the middle there was a question. Anya apakaranat eva apakritaha iti tata apakaranaya na yatyate. So were there this apakaranat eva anyat apakaranat tatet idara mantaram kurute tatatasya bhayam bhavati. That is the anya apakaranam, the negation of separatedness or the otherness. That alone apakrita iti tata apakaranaya na yatyate. One who doesn't take effort for that, even though when the Upanishad is saying that you are having the otherness, that is why you are having fear of the other one, you are having attraction for the other one, you have the desires for the other one. As long as you have the otherness in your ideation, whatever may be that, unless you remove that by the knowledge of what the Upanishad is saying, that is that if that doesn't take place, then you will not be able to understand what the Upanishad is saying. Sayaha kaschit evam yadoktam brahma utsrijya utkarsha apakarsha advaitam satyam jnanam anantam asmi ityevam veti iti evam vit. Sa evam vit. There is a statement in the Upanishad. So evam vit means one who knows in this manner. Evam means in this manner. Vit means one who knows. What way? Evam means that is being explained by yaha kaschit evam yatoktam. Evam means yatoktam. Has having been explained by the Upanishad. How Brahma, this Brahma is what your nature is. So you have to understand that Brahma as what? Utsrijya, utkarsha apakarsham advaitam. After abandoning utkarsha apakarsha, the superiority, inferiority, when you abandon that which is caused by the adjectives and the names and forms, when you arrive at the essence of it, advaitam, the non-duality of the essence of everything, as satyam jnanam anandam asmi, as your own nature as the satyam jnanam and anandam. Here the Upanishad says that tattvamasi, here the tat is Brahma, and that Brahma is satya jnanam anandam. So tat tvamasi will become ham brahmasmi. So now Brahma replace it with satya jnanam anandam. So aham satya jnanam anandam asmi is the knowledge one who achieves. Sa evam vit. One who knows this in this manner, he is known as Brahma vidapnoti param. He is the one who pervades in the Brahman, because Brahman is in which everything is encompassed. What is the place where everything appears in it? So one who knows that my nature or my essential nature is Brahman, he becomes one with the Brahman. Param apnodi. He pervades the Param, means he pervades the Brahman. Evam shabdasya prakrita paramartha paramarshat arthatvad. Evam shabdasya. This evam shabdam here means this word which is evam with. Prakrita paramarsha arthatvad. Paramarsha means description. Prakrita paramarsha means in the context. What has been described, the meaning of Brahman, Evam Shabda, is to be understood as Satya Jnanam Anandam Asmi iti. Not as Brahman is Satya Jnanam Anandam Brahma. Now here the Brahma has been replaced by Asmi. Satya Jnanam Anandam Asmi. So that when you become that, I am that. That is the word, the Shabdam Evam becomes Evam with it. Saha Kim. Now the student is asking Saha Kim. Asmad lokat pretya drishta adrishta vishaya sugha samudayo hi ayam lokaha. Who is, what is that? Sakim, or who is him? Asmad lokat pretya. Having abandoned this world. Now, abandoned this world doesn't mean that dead or having abandoned this world by dying. Drishta adrishta vishaya samudaya hi ayam lokaha. Drishta adrishta samudaya. What is known and what is unknown, all put together is what is called this world. If you want a description for this world, that is what is perceived and what is unperceived. That is ayam lokaha. Tasmat asmat lokat pretya pratyavritya. Tasmat, therefore, atman lokat pretya, from this world, pretya means abandoned, or pratyavritya means is another word for it. From the word, he is abandoning means he becomes not separate from the world. He doesn't go out of this world, or he is not abandoning his body. Like some commentators have mentioned, when he abandons his body, he goes beyond the bodies of Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. But Acharya Shankara says that it is not that way. Here, Pretya means he becomes Nirapeksha. He has no Apeksha. He has no expectation out of this world, because expectation can come only from something outside you. When you are the entire world, you are essentially the everything which is appearing as different names and forms. What can be the expectation for you from anything and everything? So, Nirapeksho Bhutva Etam Yatha Vyakhyatam Annavayam Atmanam Upasankramati Vishayajadam Annamayadi Pinda Atmanoho Vetiriktam Na Pashyati. So what does that say that? Evam Etam Vyakhyatam. In this way, which has been explained till now, the essence of Brahman and the essence of us individually, Annamayam Atmanam Upasankramati is a statement from the Upanishad. What does it mean? Vishayajadam Annamayat Pindatmanaha Vyatiriktam Na Pashyati. He doesn't see his own body as not separate from him. The essence of everything in the world is himself. Now we are seeing, we are associating with ourselves with the body, forgetting who we are. But when we know our essence and the essence of everything in our body and everybody, not only our body, everybody is one and the same, he Vyatiriktam Na Pashyati, he doesn't see the separatedness between one body and the other body and the one object to another object. Sarvam Sthula Bhudam Annamaya Matmanam Pashyati Ityartham. Sarvam, everything what he is experiencing in this world. Sthula Bhudam Annamaya Matmanam. It may appear to be gross as created for transactional purpose or in transaction, but They are nothing but Annamayam Atmanam. Here Annamayam Atmanam means Atma which is pervading the Annamayam or the grossness of the bodies of every object. That is what he is seeing. He is seeing the body. In the body, he is not seeing the separation. He is seeing that it is the same Atma which is present in the Annamaya of a human being and the Annamayam of an animal, Annamayam of a bird, Annamayam of a plant, Annamayam of a rock, Annamayam of a planet, Annamayam of sun, moon, stars, grass, everything. All the places, Sarvam, Pashyadi Tirtha. He sees that Atma alone. He sees Sarvatma, Sarvam Atma. He sees Sarvam as Atmamayam. Even though he is transacting with every one of them for the purpose of transaction, he is transacting them as Atma. Just as we are seeing space, we are utilizing one room, going to another room, one for sleeping, one for living, one for toilet, one for school, one for a hospital. We are utilizing space left, right and center by all names and forms. But we are, even though when we are utilizing the space as in multiple, multi-activity, everything, we do not acknowledge it that it is one and on the same space which I am utilizing, one for bedroom, one for living room, etc., etc. No problem in using them for bedroom, living room, etc. But we should be acknowledging that I am differentiating for the purpose of the different activities. In essentially, there is no difference. Tomorrow, your living room, you have to sleep in your living room as your living room or bedroom. You should not feel that you have been demoted from your bedroom to your living room. Or if you don't have a space, tomorrow the earthquake came and you are given space to sleep and it is a makeshift arrangement. Or it can be a hospital, or it can be a tent, or it can be anything. What difference does it make? It is still the same space. But when we do not acknowledge it as space, we will feel that he has been given a better space than me. I have been given something less than that. So there is a superiority, inferiority thought coming in our mind. And this thought is what is creating all the problems of life. Here the Upanishad is saying that why are we making this differentiation of superiority, inferiority complex? Everything is one and the same essence. Transact in that with this knowledge, there is nothing which is higher, which is lower. There is no way who is superior, who is inferior, nothing of that sort. Tataha abhyantarametam pranamayam sarvan annamayatmasta annamayatmatam avibhaktam. So the avibhaktam means non-differentiated from the same annamayat pindaha. From the same annamaya which is there, annamaya here means grossness. Don't take as food sheath alone. It is here referring to the annamaya means the grossness. Sarvan annamayasta. Therefore, athai etam manomayam vijnanamaya anandamayam atmanam upasangramati. In the same fashion, whether it is a gross, subtle, or imaginary, mental, intellectual, or our experiential bliss nature. The nature of the bliss also. Here is the why where the nature of one, we saw that, one who is knowing that avrajinaha akamahata, he doesn't see the difference between the human happiness and the Hiranyagarbha happiness, the same thing is to be applied even in the Anandamaya, where the Ananda is to be considered that human Shatam Voti. The 100 times is the Ananda of the Brahman, the Gandharva, etc., etc. We saw that. One who knows the essence of life, essence of everything, he does not make a difference between Annamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. Nothing. Upasankramati means he pervades, crosses across, cuts across, means he cuts across the differentiations. So when he upasankramati means actually speaking apnodi, prapnodi. He reaches, he pervades. So he pervades by cutting across the differentiation and negating the differentiation. Ada adarsye anatme anirukte anilayane abhayam pradishtam vindate. Only then you can say that you are established in the fearlessness. Otherwise, you will have the second, and from second, the otherness, you will have the fear. This is exactly what the Upanishad wants us to think about it. The Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, what we are talking about is to listen to this, to ponder about it, analyze it in such a way that you get convinced that what the Upanishad is saying is right. I am not what I am thinking that I am, nor is anybody else. If I am known as what I am, it is the same experience there with everyone. So how can they be different from me? The essence with which the sky is made, the space is made onwards to the every atom, the space inside the atom or the molecules, the space occupied the molecules or the atoms, the electron, proton, neutron, or whatever may be the, the minutest particle which we have found out, or even what we are yet to find out. All of them are in space, depending upon space, wanting space, in space they exist. Without space, there is no existence for them. And that space itself is from this Brahman, which is Satyajnanam Anandam. We discussed the Satyajnanam Anandam in detail. That existence, consciousness or awareness and the infinite in nature. One who identifies and convinced himself that he is nothing but Brahman or Atman, for him, there is no fear. Tatra Chintyam. Now here is what the dialogue actually starting between the teacher and the student. Who is this Evam Vita? Now here we have to think about how can this person be different from others? One who knows Brahman. Katam va Sankramati. How can he pervade? Kim Paramanandam Atmano Anyaha Sankramana Karta Pravibhaktaha. If he is pervading, the one which is pervading has to be separate from him, then only he can pervade. Now, the ink pervaded the blotting paper. When you say that, the blotting paper has to be separate, the ink has to be separate. Or when I say that, the blue ink, when I dropped in the water, the blueness pervaded the entire water. So the blue ink is separate, the water is separate. So here when you say that, Sankramati, Evam Annamayam Atmanam Upasankramati, Manomayam Atmanam Upasankramati, all those Upasankramati word Prapnoti means pervades. That case, the Paramananda Atma, which we are talking about, must be Anya, has to be separate, and the individual has to be separate to pervade the Paramananda Atma. Is it this way which we are doing? Uta, otherwise, sa evam sav eveti kim tataha. Now the questions are being asked one after the other by the student. Is it not that some eveti? Is it not the way in which we should understand? Kim tataha. In that case, what happens? Yad anyaha syad shruti virodaha. If it is anyaha, then it will also be against the Shruti, against the same words of the Upanishad. Because what is the Upanishad said? Tat trishtva tadevanu pravijad. That we studied it in detail. We discussed this in detail. Having created it, entered it. So there the discussion took place. Don't we remember that? How can the one who creates enter in it? This is from Taittareeya Upanishad. In the Brihadaranya Upanishad, he is quoting another thing. Anyo asau, anyo aham asmi iti na saveda. If I am not knowing myself as others, then how can I know saveda? How can I know him? If I have to know him, he has to be separate from him. So if I am ekatvam anupashyata, if I am saying that anupashyata will not happen, there has to be something which is separate from me, then only I can see that. Ekameva advitiyam. Then in the Chandogya Upanishad we say that Ekameva advitiyam, there is only one and which is non-dual in nature. Tadu Tomasi, that you are. All these things will be negated by the statement if you say that Evam says he is the one who is Upasankramati. Athaha sa eva anandamaya matmanam upasankramati iti karma kartutva anuvapatti. If that is the case, Paramananda Prapti for the Vidwan, what we is being talking about, if it is that is what is being discussed, then there will be a problem of karma kartrutva anuvapatti. What is this karma anuvapatti? That is a logical term. The karma and the karta, that the subject and the object has to be separate for a transaction. No transaction can never ever take place if both the karma and karta or the subject and the object are one and the same. You can say Rama is going to the village. The village is the object here into which or to which Rama is going. Rama is the karta or the doer, and the doing is entering the village. So entering the village happens only if the village is different and Rama is different. Can we say Rama entered Rama? That is not valid statement because there is the karta and the karma is one and the same. The subject and the object is one and the same. Therefore, anuvapatti means illogical. It is not going to happen. Same way, if he becomes the Ananda, then how can he attain Ananda, Paramananda? He becomes the Brahman because Brahman is Paramananda Swarupa. It is the nature of Paramananda. Here you are saying that he has become Brahmavit Apnodi Param. The Brahmavit, one who knows Brahman, becomes Brahman, or Apnodi Param means pervades Brahman. Here there is this Karma Kartra Anubhapavatti, means it is illogical. I stop it here because this need to be discussed in detail. I'll do it in the Friday's class. So, Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadidamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyavada.
Thank you, Binduji. Really, really good class. Uh, Many of us have been attending through these classes on the Taittareeya. Some people have not, but I'm sure they got a lot of benefit, and they're invited to listen to the replays that are here. But the remaining half hour or so is set aside if people have things that they're reflecting on or specific questions, especially related to today's class, that they feel Binduji could help them to clarify, or past classes. A more general Advaita Q&A is on Sundays at the same time, 8:30 p.m. IST. So anyone is now welcome. Hand raising is open to come up and discuss further and get clarity from Binduji.
Namaste Venkat.
Namaste. Hari Om Madaji, Hari Om
Hari.
Artemisia, Hari Om Prasad. Binduji, this is a sidebar question. There is this is pretty useful session today, further strengthening the establishment. The sidebar question is that the time has never been handled. The space is well handled. Akasha Sambhota. Then further, everything else is falling in place. Is there a specific reason this Upanishad doesn't handle Kala, the time? Is that
Okay. Because
yeah.
for this Upanishad, space and time are not two separate things. Because the time cannot exist without the space. So when the space is mentioned, it includes the time. Only when we do this, we are bringing the time as a separate from the space. But Upanishad thinks that the space and time are integral one part. So that is why Akasha is not the space material space what we are talking about. It is the Tanmatra space which includes the time in it.
Got it, Binduji. Any further elaboration? Because is Akasha time the Kala and the Desha and Kala, right? Both it's called Desha and Kala. Desha Kala is part of the space, or is there any, a separation within space?
Desha Kala separation is in the grossified state. That is when the matter has become perceivable and measurable in the subtle or grosser terms. But what we are talking about is Tatmat Atmana Akasha Sambhutaha. So there the Sambhutaha word appeared is included the time concept as the beginning, means time, right? So time is integral part to all the activities, but yet it is not separate from Brahman.
Got it, Binduji. Now, this Sankramati covered, because already covered, there's nothing to cover. This is from a Sikha perspective. Sankramati is used from a Sikha perspective to explain this, because there's nothing to cover. It's already covered.
Yeah. But this question answer from between the teacher and the student is specifically on the Sankramati aspect, which will come later. That is why I have not completed that discussion dialogues today. Because when I stopped it, I said the subject-object activity is illogical if they are not separate. If they are one and the same, it is illogical. Anubhapati. So that is why Sankramati has to be as per the student, has to be separate. That subject who is now knowing the Brahman, pervades Brahman means Sankramati means he is pervading Paramananda. The Paramananda has to be separate from the one who has now the knowledge of Brahman. And here also, knowledge of the Brahman means the Brahman has to be separate and the person who knows has to be separate. All these dialogues will come up later in the subsequent portions.
Sure, Bandhuji. I think we'll not jump now. We'll wait for this. Thanks for taking us in a very, very structured manner. Step by step, it is really taking away doubts at each level, Binduji. Thank you, Binduji.
Yeah, that's why once the thorough study of this Upanishad is done, then other Upanishads will, when you go revisit them, it will ring bell much faster than what we have been doing earlier. Because the foundation on the Shankaracharya's Bhashya on the Taittareeya is considered to be the second best next to Brihadaranya. That's why I'm spending so much time. I'll be spending, God willing, that, when I'm going into Brihadaranya, it may run into 400 or 500 days of classes. Here we may end up with 50 or 60 classes, whereas when I go to Brihadaranya, it may not less than 500 classes to my assessment. That is how elaborate he has done it. And that too, I will not be taking the entire Brihadaranya, only the important aspect of where he's talking about the tattvam only, or the subject matter. There are upasana areas which I will not be covering. But if you want to cover the entire Shankaracharya Bhashya, then you may need at least 3 to 4 years minimum for that.
God, Binduji. Because these structures are inherent, like the Panchakosha, are inherent in the setup and how to say it in a better way, or way we can have a conversation. These structures are, the moment they're inherent, is to be just uncovered by Upanishad or any other way. It's just that, when you take us through this, the Atman Akasha Sambhata Akasha Vayu Agni, this structure, and the way we are uncovering it, that even the Vidya and Vidya, that Visheshana Gnana, right? That separation, that ignorance to the one who choose to be ignored, choosing ignorance actually, you put it in the best way possible. That's what happened. This is a structure, basically the choice to be ignorant from the point of a Gnani. These are available to validate. Binduji, this structure itself, unique to Upanishad. At the same time, someone want to take the journey is also available in the Drishtara to recognize it and, not giving reality to it. Now, how do you classify this structure as Gnanam, or where do you put this, these structures made available by, Upanishad?
This structure is basically developed, or rather brought out in a very crystal clear manner by Shankaracharya. Otherwise, if we have been reading the Upanishadic words alone, we may not see the structure. And why did he bring the structure is basically hand-holding us in our Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Unless this has been structured in this way through his commentary, we would not have been able to logically develop ourselves stage by stage. Otherwise, start reading Brahma Vidapnoti Param and going further up to this one. The whole people, the whole Taittareeya Upanishad chanting, those who are chanting it regularly, you ask them, they don't see the structure. They see only the mantra, the rik, only what they are chanting is only what they see it. To see the structure, you needed somebody like Shankaracharya to bring it, the commentary in the structured way. And that is for us to be benefited by the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. That's all the purpose of the structure.
God, Banuji. This is the Sadashiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Parantam Vande Guru Parampara. The Guru Parampara that carried this, maybe he is the first one to document it and make it public in a way that can be consumed, number one. And Guru like you making it, spoon feeding us. This is a Guru Parampara, right, Binduji? If it is simply put it in the book also, many times cannot be consumed. It become a pure knowledge otherwise. It has to come from a Guru only, right, Binduji?
Absolutely. See, that is why we have this parampara of oral tradition and teaching tradition by explaining. The commentaries have been translated. We people who read the translation will get a fair amount of idea. But when the doubts or when the type of what you call, misapprehension of some of the statements, because even when reading, you may have to read it at least 5 to 10 times to know that exactly what is the intended meaning of those statements. Because the translator has kept in his mind certain intended meaning. But when you go from a Guru Parampara, what happens is that for one statement itself, I have been taught by my Guru multiple, explanations for that. Because each Sanskrit word has got multiple meanings to it. I am only using part of it because I cannot convey exactly how my teacher taught me. I am conveying it only part of it, keeping in mind the English listening audience, whereas he was doing it with the mind of people who are knowing the vernacular language and Sanskrit, both in mind. He was never keeping in his mind the English knowing people. So when I'm bringing it into the English knowing audience, what happens is that I cannot bring in the additional information which he gave me for our clarity as students entirely verbatim to you, because that will not make sense, because it is all about basically there will be about grammar requirement or some nirukta requirement or something from the Mimamsa he would have included. All those things are adding value for us when we are understanding. But I am bringing the essence of that when I am doing the translation here in English without, missing out any important aspect of it. At the same time, I should convey what my teacher has taught me so that I don't misinterpret or put in my own, ideation into that. And I am not going to do anything what Shankaracharya never intended to convey. So all these things have to be kept in mind when I am doing this. So that is why the Guru Parampara is important. And I have been lucky to hear it in both in Sanskrit and in my vernacular language about both the classes I have attended. So that is why that has gave me the confidence that yes, since I have understood it and it has become mine, I am able to produce it in English because I have learned it in Sanskrit and Malayalam. So when I am doing it in English, I have to keep it in mind that I am doing justice to that.
Yes, Binduji, this is becoming far more concrete now. Even the English, the words you've been using, and that corollary to the Sanskrit is falling in place for us. Uh, this is helping a lot. Uh, Thank you so much for this. You know, uh, way you put it, way you are taking us through. Always hugely grateful to the effort you're putting in here. Hope we will live up to this.
Thank you, Venkat.
Yeah, thank you, Venkat. That was exactly right. Hoping we will live up to this. If anyone else would like to raise their hand and discuss or ask Binduji relating to this Upanishad and specifically this class, unless it's something remaining from earlier in the Upanishad that we studied together, you're welcome to raise your hand. We have some more time. So since I'm not seeing any hand at the moment, but please continue to raise your hand if something comes up for you. I just wanted to say something about what you said, Venkat, and see if Binduji, if you would like to reply to this. Let me think how to say this. So, you've spoken a lot with us about the apparent versus the intended meaning. And the way I heard part of what Venkat was talking about was, in a way, then maybe we go into a deeper sense of the intended meaning. But there's a way also in which it just can become just a subtler knowledge. And that it would be a mistake to think that that is actually, so to speak, what the message is. Because that would never become any kind of a knowledge that was an object. And so we shouldn't think, oh, that's how it is. It's still something represented often. And so there's this kind of ongoing deepening that can happen. And it also, so I was thinking about that, this is not, there isn't something at the end. And it made me think of something that happened in a room earlier today with a friend of ours where you were talking about the importance of an actual teacher. And I was thinking about the word intuition. And this person spoke of something that I'm also familiar with, which was listening to you when you're using Sanskrit. And in the moments that you're using Sanskrit, even if it's translated afterwards, the Sanskrit isn't understood by the normal mind, but there's an intuition that can be picked up also that's quite direct, and is often deeper than even an object that we could call the apparent meaning, if we're still allowing that to be, intended meaning, even if we take the intended meaning as still somewhat of an object. What I'm really getting at is when we can really transcend any representation, and it's very intuitive and felt, and I felt that somehow Venkat was talking about coming to that point and not even stopping at any of the intended ideas that we come across. That was a little bit winding, I know. I apologize for that. If either you or Venkat have anything to say on that, otherwise I've expressed myself. You're muted, Binduji, or else you're intentionally not responding, which is fine.
No, I'm not. You asked a question to Venkat. I thought
Oh,
Venkat will be answering that.
either one of you, if you get the drift.
Okay. So the intuition, see, Sanskrit is such, I don't know this. Okay. So 4 or 5 years back, I went to a guru, to, just to learn chanting. And that's how my exploration of Sanskrit started. And, I'm just plainly reading based on the teaching of Binduji, right? Simply read it. Now I'm able to relate to the words and the intended meaning, um, because it is rooted in that's a blessing of Binduji, because he is using those words, uh, rooted to the meaning, in the explanation. Now I simply connecting all of this and making sense of it. That's all is going on. So if you call it intuition, whatever you want to call it, it's simply an effort. So I said, okay, read the Bhashya, open the book, and when he's teaching, just open the book and try to parallelly trace it. That's how it is going on. So just follow the instruction, provided. So take the instruction from Guru and follow it. That's it. Uh,
Isha,
Namaste,
namaste.
Binduji. Namaste, Atamisha Prasad, Venkatji. I just came to say, Binduji, that I really love you. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's always beautiful to be in your presence only. And the words do magic. So, I don't know whether I'll be able to ever meet you in person, but that is one of my wishes. But I just came on stage to say that I love you.
Thank you. Where are you placed?
I am currently in Punjab. Where are you?
Okay. I'm in Gujarat, not very far.
Okay. I would love to meet you one time.
Sometime, yes, we may. If I have any plan to come to Delhi side or Punjab side, I'll let you know.
Very beautiful. I wish you all the best, and I wish you great health, and I pray and I wish to meet you someday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Atmisha, can we close?
Sure. Thank you, everybody, very, very much. For those who would like to be able to look directly at some translation of the commentaries, in the copy of the Eight Upanishads, Volume 1, that's near the top of the chat. Roughly in the last class or two, we've been from about pages 373 to 386. It's 373 to 386, and I have found it really beautiful just to read the translation of Shankara's commentary and his discussions with the opponents and so forth. I really feel what Binduji was saying about the importance of this Upanishad and this particular section that we're in, part 2, all of it. So I just wanted to point those out for people who maybe aren't quite yet benefiting from that additional part. Granted that if I just read that and didn't have Binduji, it would be an entirely different experience for me, but it is beautiful to read it. And again, just to say that there's replays here and also on YouTube at Advaita Retold, and that we'll have another class this Friday at 8:30 p.m. IST. Just so that no one's concerned, sometimes when anyone's missing on the panel, a few people are concerned. Prakash is just traveling for a whole month, and so there will be times he's absent, but we're still in communication with him, and nothing is amiss there. It's just that he's traveling. So thank you, everyone, for coming to listen, and thank you, Prasad. Before I turn it over to Binduji, Prasad, would you like to speak? You're very welcome.
No, I just wanted to add that I wish the classes, I'm sure even Binduji wishes the same, that the classes dwelt intensely on the nature of Brahman, because in the past two classes since then, there has been a very in-depth representation of what is Brahman according to Advaita Vedanta. And generally, we have a lot of concepts around it. Some concepts tally with Advaita Vedantic concepts and some concepts don't. But here, at least today, Bindoji had, with the help of Shankara Bhashya, enumerated various concepts of Brahman, of Advaita Vedanta. Frankly, if the student hasn't understood it, there should be a million questions actually coming up, literally with every sentence that Binduji says. And I wish that, what we call as charcha or discussions happen around this aspect more than anything else, because the vision that Taittareeya Upanishad presents of Brahman is the best version. The next best, of course, as I have seen, is the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. Even that gives a very incisive understanding of what is Brahman according to Advaita Vedanta. So, I just wish as classes go on, or I think we're reaching the fag end, but the discussions should be on many things, many points that Binduji brought about. And if one really looks into it, they will appear paradoxical at many points. Right? Something like the idea actually in Advaita Vedanta, there's nothing like pervades. And this is one point that was brought. When we say pervades, it just doesn't mean pervades, it means that it is only that. Now, how do you make sense out of that? What is then the body? What is then the mind? How does it exist? Does it exist independent? I know Binduji has spoken about it, but I wish that we had these questions coming up more and more, so that the clarity on what is Brahman becomes more and more clear. So I just wanted to add that. I just hope, but I'm not so sure if it will happen. But when we were learning, we had lots of questions, and all those questions eventually brought clarity in just the intellectual understanding of what Brahman is. So that's just something that I wanted to add for the classes. Yeah, now we can close.
Oh, hold on. No, that was really good, Prasad. Thank you so much for saying that. Because I couldn't have said that as well as you did, but I feel the same thing, that this is the opportunity. There's not another opportunity. And it is odd that there aren't points of discussion that people bring forward. And even just what you raised as an example about pervades, if that were brought forward, especially in the way you did, for example, or with some level of clarity, we could spend a long time looking at that. And I think I know myself and probably others would benefit. So, maybe you can inspire all of us with what you just said, but also, even if that had been raised right at the beginning, I think it could be a topic that we could have pursued. So whenever you feel like helping us or asking if we have understood something, that will be appreciated. So, and I do try to I expressed something today, but quite frankly, I don't think it was quite picked up, because it could have also turned into a discussion. It wasn't really heard, and that's not to blame anyone. I think a lot of us we're challenged with how to even say what's inside of us. But thank you so much, Prasad. I think this is very important. Okay, Bindaji.
Thank you, Atmisha. Thank you, Prasad, Venkat, Isha. Thank you all for being there. We'll continue our sessions on Friday, same time. Hari Om.
Good night.
Hari Om.